it's just Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets. So, Nick, let me start with you. What are you expecting to see from LeBron and company in Game 1 Friday night?
Well, you know, luckily, unlike Chris Broussard, I can just go to my original bracket and say, what did I have? Oh, I had Lakers over Nuggets in 6. So I think I'll just stick with Lakers over Nuggets in 6. Now, with that said, Broussard, I would not be surprised at all if the Nuggets win Game 1. We have seen, not just throughout this series, but throughout LeBron's entire playoff career, unless he feels like his team is the massive underdog and that every game you could possibly steal is huge, he's going to use Game 1 to feel out and see how the opposing team is going to play him, how they're going to approach this series. So that is an opportunity for Denver. But, Chris, the reason I think Denver is in real trouble in this series is, like most teams in the league, they don't have anyone to guard LeBron James. Gary Harris, who's their best perimeter defender, is simply not going to be able to do it. Jeremy Grant's not strong enough. Like, they don't have a good match. Paul Millsap is not quick enough. They don't have a good matchup. But the other reason is this. The Clippers never could figure out, Broussard, how to guard the high pick and roll between Jokic and Jamal Murray. The Lakers can, if they need to, just put LeBron James on Jamal Murray and Anthony Davis on Nikola Jokic, and they can switch that screen and still be okay. Anthony Davis is quick enough and long enough to be able to hang with Murray a bit, and LeBron James is strong enough to be able to deal with Jokic on the block. So they have a bit of kryptonite for what is the Nuggets' most valued tool on offense, and I don't think they're going to have to double Jokic. So for all those reasons, I have tremendous respect for the Nuggets. Obviously, they were better than the Clippers. Obviously, the Lakers are playing the hardest possible team they could be playing in the Western Conference Finals. But I don't think the Nuggets have enough for him here, Chris Broussard.
They don't. And look, I'm with you in that I wouldn't be surprised if Denver wins tonight. I wouldn't panic. I wouldn't think, oh, wow, maybe they'll win this series. We've seen the Lakers lose the first 2 games in the previous 2 series. But I do expect the Lakers to win. And look, this is a match made for the Lakers. Unlike their first 2 rounds, okay, Portland presented some real challenges in that they were a perimeter-oriented team, and the Lakers had trouble guarding the perimeter. Same thing in the second round. You had the second round was I'm trying to remember who they
Westbrook and Harden
beat Houston with the small ball. That's how memorable Houston was in that series.
Disrespectful.
With the small ball, you had to adjust to that. Denver is tailor-made for the Lakers, and you mentioned Anthony Davis on Jokic. Heck, Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee guarded Jokic well in the regular season. Lakers won 3 of 4. They held Jokic to about 16 points a game. If for some reason that doesn't work, you're right, you just throw AD on him. And then here's the other thing. They had success against Kawhi Leonard because Kawhi Leonard is a mid-range guy. So they would funnel him into traffic in the mid-range, and Kawhi's going to pull up in the mid-range and shoot the jumpers, but they could collapse on him and give him trouble there. LeBron's not going to stop in the mid-range. LeBron is going to go all the way to the rim, and Denver has no rim protection. As great as Jokic is, he's not a rim protector.
Correct.
So they've got real problems in this matchup with the Lakers. I'm with you, Nick. I picked the Lakers in 6, and that's what I expect to happen. Definitely not a 7-game series in my view.
Okay.
Yeah, the Nuggets are going to have to do something at. Go ahead, Wild.
No, I mean, I think that all makes sense. That all makes sense on paper. I think we're looking at it like, well, yeah, Nick, that makes sense, and Broussard, that makes sense. But then the Nuggets, if I'm the Nuggets, I'm sitting there like, yeah, we're the Nuggets. Remember we surprised everybody? In the first round, we're like, oh, Jamal Murray, you're cute. You're a budding superstar. And then the next round, like, yeah, we're not losing. We came back twice from 3-1 down. And Nick, if you don't lose, if the Lakers win Game 1, you say you're not going to be nervous. When are you going to be nervous? Because even when you're up 3-1, you still probably have to be nervous because that's when these guys turn into monsters. Like, look at points per game, Joker and Murray, when they're facing elimination. There's the power 2 on the left, the power 2 on the right. I don't know when you start to feel confident, because even when you're about to close out the series, that's when these guys are going to explode. So look, I think the Lakers win, but there's been a lot of newspaper print wasted writing the Nuggets off.
Well, I don't know if it was wasted, because they're going to have to do something they've never done before. You know, last night when I was really looking at this, I'm like, okay, well, how did the Nuggets get here? And it's really easy. It's two guys, Jokic and Murray. And when you look at the regular season, Chris, you talked about it already, right? The Lakers won 3 of 4. And Jokic, you know, they dominated Jokic. They were able to defend him. The Lakers did a phenomenal job last series against Portland, who has a really good big as well. So when you look at Jokic, he's going to have to do something he's never done this season against the Lakers. And then when you look at Murray, Murray was a guy that was just average. And I say it again, you know, I don't know if it's a flash-in-the-pan type talent or a flash-in-the-pan superstar, but his 4 biggest games came in the bubble, in the playoffs. So when you look at that, it makes you wonder who else is going to step up. Maybe it's Michael Porter Jr. You know, he came out and said, you know, we got to get other guys involved. Well, if they want to have a chance, then they have to get other guys involved. And this might be his opportunity to show who he is and back up his words. Gary Harris, Millsap, all those guys have to play big, and they can't just wait until Game 5, Game 6 when their back's against the wall and Delta has their private jet on the tarmac. Like, you have to do it Game 1, Game 2. So I'm excited to watch this series, but at the end of the day, this is the Lakers series to lose, as we all know.
All right. And the next time LeBron James blows a 3-1 lead will be the first time. Hell, the next time LeBron James blows a 3-2 lead will be the first time in over a decade. That is simply not Denver's idea of coming back on this team. That's not going to happen when you have the greatest player ever on the other side of the court. And the regular season numbers are worse for Denver than folks even acknowledge, because they lost 3 out of 4, but the one they won, LeBron didn't play. So they played the Lakers 3 times when LeBron played, and they were 0 for 3. And lastly, what the Lakers will do that is beyond me, Jenna, why the Clippers refuse to, they will, instead of settling for the mid-range, go to the rim to get Jokic in foul trouble. Jokic was out of foul trouble in that series, not through any doing of the Clippers. Not through any doing of his own, just because the Clippers weren't attacking. If you can get Jokic in foul trouble, the Nuggets have no shot whatsoever, and the Lakers will attack. And so, listen, the Nuggets are an excellent team and a very, very good story with 2 young stars. This is a brutal matchup for them. In their defense, Jenna, it's a brutal matchup for every team in the league, because the Lakers are the best team in the league and have been all year.
As you always say,